Hey, welcome to another episode of Sufficient Grace.
All praises to the King of Glory. His grace is sufficient, the reason I'm living. All praises to the King of Glory. His name is Jesus, and I'm a believer. All praises to the King of Glory, yeah. His love is endless, through mercy and forgiveness.
Hey. Welcome back to another episode of Sufficient Grace. Sufficient Grace. Hey.
Welcome back, y'all. We missed you.
Hi. It's been a long time since I left you.
Hey.
I got another show for you to step to.
Right?
Look, I used to have rap aspirations.
Just you were multi-talented in the music, okay? First of all, if y'all didn't know, I'm pretty sure we told y'all before that this is Jessica on the intro. Okay? Vocals, the harmony, everything. That's her. It's not me.
But please don't go looking up that old mixtape.
I didn't have a part in that because it wouldn't have sounded like that. No, I was gonna sound like
you got good background vocals.
I do. Yeah, yes. I'm a Kelly Rowland to Beyonce for sure. I could do that,
and I do love a good 27 or 613 in the PM.
Listen, one of these days. But no, we love that y'all tune in and keep up with us. We do appreciate you all. How's things going, Jess? Anything new? We always like to update the people.
Good times of the life of Jess. So I'm Jess. Okay. All right. And so it's been an interesting last couple of weeks. We talked about it downstairs at good old prep talk time. I have been in this weird cycle of my bad behaviors and not my sinful ones. Right. Now I'm saved, y'all, but we still all have a procrastination issue.
Oh yeah.
Or a consistency issue. And God has really been dealing with me in those areas because I don't want to be perfect, but I don't want to make the excuse of that's just how I am. That's just how I've been. So I can't get past it. I can do all of the things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay. So if I have a thorn in my side, hello, sufficient grace. He got my back. And I feel like sometimes God won't do things in our lives because you don't actually ask him.
True.
How often do you ask him to take the bad habits and are I'm not doing crack, but it's still a problem if I can't consistently get up on time.
True.
I feel like that speaks to a deeper issue. Girl, why don't you?
I don't think we ask at all. I can only speak for myself. Put it this, it's very few times I've asked the Lord, can you take this from me?
Yeah.
Because I always thought I could do it myself. See that's the part you kind of we like to relinquish things that we're supposed to be responsible in doing to God.
Yeah. And so I was like, Lord, I really want to work on being more consistent with, my time management stuff. Okay. 5 a.m. prayer. That's your thing.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 a.m. is early, Lord. Oh, I'm struggling. Lord, I'm struggling. Yeah. But that was my ding, ding, ding. Okay, I gave you this one thing to do.
Yep.
Can you do that? And then we can get the rest in line of consistent. So that's what's going on with me. All right. The Lord is working on me.
He will help us.
Okay. He will help me. He'll help you too. But right now I'm worried about me.
Right.
How are you?
Ooh,
yeah.
World. One of these days, soon, I'm going to share a testimony.
Soon.
I'm going to just say, soon. I'm going to share a testimony because I know that that's what's happening. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
In my world, I'm in a huge transition moment in my life. I can't say too much right now, but I promise you, y'all gonna hear this testimony and it's gonna blow your mind. I know it's gonna blow mine for sure. The reason why I say that is because where I am is a place that I probably would have never been.
Yeah.
If it was Alex, put it that way.
I
would still be where I was out of comfortability. And just not trying to make any moves. Whereas God has thrusted me into the unknown. Into the unknown.
That's my jam. Like, some people might sleep on the second one, but the second one was kind of fire too.
I've been singing that song since. Into the unknown. Literally, it's unknown. But I think that's how our faith is built. I feel like that's where I am.
Yeah.
And I think we fight seasons of growth because they're uncomfortable, they're strenuous, they hurt.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. And then we go to God as if he's unjust. And the question I keep presenting to him is, God, why? How long? What's happening? And he's just like, Alex, how will you know you have faith if it's not trusted? Or tested, should I say? Sorry. Yeah. If it's not tested.
Yeah.
Everybody got faith until it's tested.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody believe God until you got to believe God.
For sure.
And so that's where I am. It hasn't been an easy season, if I could be completely transparent. But my faith in God is what is sustaining me.
Yeah.
Literally. It's some mornings I wake up and I be like, God, did I hear you right? Am I tripping? Am I tripping? Am I tripping? And then every time I get in that space, I feel like I've received in this season the most prophetic words I've ever received in my life in a consecutive time frame. Because I feel as though this is God. Because I remember telling them recently, I'm like, God, you're going to have to hold my hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to hold my hand through this one. This is different for me. It's not that. It's like learning how to ride a bike for the first time, like for a child, and they want you to spot them. And it's like you as a parent are like, you got this, you got this, you getting it, you got, come, but you're going to stand there. Yeah. You're going to support. And that's what I'm asking God to do in the season. And I feel as though that's what he's doing with sending, voices to speak to the season that I've been in to keep me on track. Because otherwise,
yeah.
Jesus, do you care that we perish? Because the winds and the waves is whipping. Okay. That's all I got to say. But yeah, your girl got a testimony.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So clock it. We're going to come back to this episode. We're going to put it together. Y'all going to see the testimony.
Okay. It's going to be the testimony, the season of testimony.
Listen, sufficient
testimonies.
Listen.
Okay. Because I'm believing God for her and I believe in God for me. Because I've been waiting for some things to shake loose.
Listen.
But hey, look, that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole other day. Because there's the things I could tell, the things we both could tell you,
man,
about what the last year and some.
I'm saying, I can't wait to share it though. I feel like this platform, God has given it to us to be transparent and vulnerable in the space where we share what we're going through and then the testimony that God brings us out to encourage somebody that's watching on the other end. Because sometimes people listen to podcasts and they're inspired, but they don't look at us as real people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I never want somebody to look at me like I'm untouchable or I'm not relatable or I just live this perfect life. And I really want people to understand that we all have trials and tribulations that we go through. And all of our faith has to be tested.
Oh yeah. And I also don't want y'all to feel like good stuff never happens to us.
No. Oh yeah. No.
On occasion, we talk about some heavy things, which we are tonight as well today.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's still good. But yeah, like my baby doing good. My kids are still like, baby, I'm alive.
Yeah.
So there is goodness in the world. I'm still married. Okay.
Hello.
I got kids.
Yeah, we definitely have. I could testify of great things happening, but it's like the best of times and the worst of times.
It's a part of life though.
Yeah.
That the mundane, as we would consider it on occasion. But I wish I could remember the quote that was on my tee, but it was like, the best joy in life is finding the joy in moments of life.
Beautiful.
And
that's beautiful.
I said, sometimes the tea be speaking, it be coming through. I bet you I can find it in my Bible too if I look. It's something like that in there. Something in the word is good. But yeah, the moments, just experience life from day to day.
Yeah.
Like what and who you come across and encounter, you just never know if you would be open to it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I ain't telling you do nothing wild, do nothing crazy, but I'm just saying, open yourself up.
Yeah.
And try some things on that A to B. You in there getting your same coffee every single day from the same place. Have you ever spoken to anyone in there?
Right.
Or you just pick up your cup and go? Okay. We can find ways to communicate, to commune with people. And speaking of people, that brings us to our topic for the evening. Yeah. Mourning relationships.
Yeah. So about that. No, I think this is a necessary topic since we're in the series or this season speaking about
seasonal relationships.
We could not ignore the topic of mourning relationships and what that looks like in our lives, because the truth of the matter is it's not necessarily somebody has died, physically. Sometimes you have to mourn the loss of a relationship and how you adjust and how do you move on gracefully.
Yes.
Right. I believe like sometimes, like we spoke before, how people have this mindset that, somebody's in your life for a season or a reason, whatever the case. Right. But then what we say that so nonchalant, but we don't talk about the grief.
Yeah.
And that's follows. A process. Yeah. Like this can be somebody you spent the last 10 years with, 13 years you grew up with.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the transitions of life, that relationship it doesn't have to be sour. It doesn't have to be like, a bad kind of separation. It's just life happens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel as though we don't really talk about what that looks like and feels like in real life,
in real time.
And we just move on. But it is a process of grief. I feel like anytime somebody comes in your life and they've been in your life for an extended period of time and they're no longer there, whether they are deceased or whether they have, estranged, if you will.
Strayed away.
Yeah, those relationships, that's a form of grief.
It is. It's painful. I think we have to get better at admitting I'm hurt.
Yeah.
By this. I'm hurt that my friend is not my friend anymore. That was my bestie, my best friend.
Yeah.
You saw me, you saw her. You saw me, you saw him. Whatever we're talking about the grief of broken relationships, breaking up with people, but breaking up in friendships is also a thing too.
Yeah.
And there's always like a weird, awkward phase. I don't know if we give ourselves enough credit for the red flags that just start popping up, the fires that just start popping up, and you see them and you peep them and you just let it go.
With the friends?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, honestly, both. And parents. Lord.
Yeah, you got a point. You know what? I think I'm different in regards to friends because I'm how can I say this? I am an introvert at heart.
Okay. Same.
I'm selectively extroverted. Meaning I can socialize.
Yeah.
I have to socialize. I can socialize, but I do have a social meter.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, when I say that, I mean like when it came to friendships and relationships in that sense, I was very weary about having extra people around me. So I didn't really face the like seasons where you had to break free from people because I felt like the people I had close to me were family.
Yeah.
Right. So, or I label them as family, not just friends. I do have a cousin. She probably gonna get me, and I'm not gonna say her name, but she gonna watch this and she gonna laugh because she know I'm talking about her. I have a cousin that when we were growing up, she would always, every time she had a new friend, oh, this is my best friend. This is my best friend. This is my best friend, and we're best friends. Yeah. And I used to, even at a young age, I used to look at her and be like, "But you just met her this year. Like, it's your best friend, and we're best friends." And I'm like, "What makes you best friends?"
Yeah,
like I just couldn't understand that. Like everybody was a best friend, and then as we got older, she started to understand the concept. Like I had it wrong because it was like her heart. I mean, bless her heart. She just loved people.
Oh, yeah.
And so the people she was labeling as best friends and stuff, she genuinely liked. But then she had to find out the hard way. That ain't my best friend.
No.
She wasn't a friend at all.
Not
you
at
know
all.
What I'm saying? So for people like that, I would say people that have a proclivity of welcoming people into their lives so loosely are the ones that face the most grief in relationships. What do you think?
Agreed. That was me.
Yeah.
1,000%. Because I'm an only child. So I don't have any friends.
And she was too. So
it's a
only
thing.
Children out there.
We really struggle with letting, we gotta trust and we let people in. So you can get comfortable in your own head when you're an only child. You get comfortable being alone. Your parents are like your best friends, low key. Yeah. Until you out the house and you have to live in the world. But me being an only child and an introverted person and a military brat.
Oh wow. You had a triple.
Yeah, I had a triple threat going on here. And unfortunately, I had a lot of insecurities that I really didn't get in touch with until I was older, like a lot older. It really took me and my relationship with the Lord to really love me the way that I deserve to be loved as a human being, man. Yeah. And so as far as the relationships I have with people, I love that joke that says like introverts get adopted by extroverts because that's what happens a lot of the time. You just end up with the loud friend who just is like, hey,
so true.
Come over here.
That's so true.
It happens all the time. They like adopt you like your little puppy.
That's so true.
Look at that cute little puppy over there. Come here.
Because I feel like I'm surrounded by loud
people.
And I'm just real chill.
Look at my husband.
And I know it's hard. Some people be like, Alex, you're right. You talk more than I'm like, I'm selectively that way. Inside, I'm cringe.
Yes. I have layers. I am a whole onion. Like when you get to know me, I'm a goofball. I'm going to talk your head off.
It is.
When you know me, but that takes time.
But that's so true. I never thought about it.
You get adopted. And it's always somebody
it's
loud.
The quiet friend and the loud friend. You're right.
Always.
Why is that? I wonder if there's like some psychological
opposites attract.
Yeah. And even in friendships.
Loud people don't like loud people.
Nope.
Most of the time.
That's crazy, but that's true.
For real. Like they have the competing energy is just too strong.
Oh, she too much for me.
It can happen, but sometimes, but they're usually crazy. That's crazy that like hanging out.
Right.
But loud and loud, I don't know about loud and loud. But,
wow.
So I got adopted a lot. And that's great. But because I had insecurities and because I had abandonment issues and because I had fear of people leaving, I also became a people pleaser. And I also let a lot of stuff slide.
Man,
I let a lot of people do really messed up things and I peeped it early. I knew that's not okay.
Right.
Or I knew that's not right. I wouldn't do that to you.
Right.
So why am I so afraid to just be like, nah, I had a fear of being alone. And that's insane because I enjoy my own company.
Right.
So like what? I don't have no problem being by myself in my house. But for some reason, it was almost like isolation in the real world. I didn't want to be visibly alone.
Wow.
I can be alone in the house. I'm supposed to be because ain't nobody else here but me.
Right.
Okay. But at school, I didn't want to look like an outcast.
Right.
I didn't want to not be accepted. So here I am already having a fear of like being abandoned, having a fear of not being accepted. And so it's almost like I have to admit that if something is wrong with me, if I allow these friendships to just fizzle out or to fail or get away from people who are doing wrong things to me. Like I just would not confront them on the things that they did because I just had a fear of them being like, okay, well, I'm not your friend anymore.
Wow.
Like, unfortunately, it all stems from a very traumatic incident when I was in the 4th or 5th grade. I do apologize, all of you. But I don't know. I had this friend group. I was the younger one. Like I always had like older friends for whatever reason. They were a grade up. A grade up above me. And I was still like kind of in an immature state. They were getting ready to go to 6th grade. I was getting ready to go to 5th grade. So I was still like a little kid to an extent. I was mature for my age, but I was still like a little kid. So this particular time frame, like we had a substitute teacher. It was a lot going on that school year. I was dealing with a lot. So I was messing up in school. I was just goofing off a lot. And I think that they were just like, Jess, we can't hang out with you no more. But they did it in the worst way possible.
Oh.
But these are kids.
Yeah.
So after time, I healed from this trauma. These were children. So I understand that they didn't know the best way to say,
we don't want to be your
we
friend.
can't hang out with you no more. But they gave me like the silent treatment one day. And then out of nowhere, we're on the playground and one of them runs up to me and says, nobody likes you. We don't want to be your friend anymore. That's why no one's talking to you.
What? Well, I appreciate you for letting me know. But
thanks for letting me know. Now I'm going to go back into the school line and fight back these tears and adjust. Next day, I didn't say anything to them. I just went to my other friend group in my fourth grade friends. Right. You know, I just started, or my fifth grade, whatever. I just started hanging out with the kids in my own grade.
Right.
But that was like my villain origin story.
Right.
So I held on to that for years.
Like Mean Girls.
It was like Mean Girls. And so when I moved to like another state, military, I again hooked up with kids that were older than me. But I had like this weird fear panic thing. And I stopped talking to them.
Really?
One random day, I had started talking to another girl who was in my grade on the bus. And it hit me that they're about to go to high school.
Aww.
They were 8th graders, about to go to high school. I'm in 7th grade. I'm going to be by myself now because who am I going to hang out with?
That sounds like I just watched a movie that had the same scenario. What's the movie Inside Out?
Oh, yeah.
When she was got to separate from her friends.
Yeah, she had to separate from her friends because they were going to go to another school. And so, yeah, this is 13 years old, 14 years old. And so and I know they kind of looked weird because I got off the bus and I went with the girl my grade. They're like, okay, where's Jess going? But I was a kid. Who has that?
Right.
You should have had a conversation like, hey guys, I'm worried that
you're leaving me.
Y'all are going to be gone soon. I need to start.
And there's that abandonment
again. So I ran from it. I ran from a tough conversation. I jumped ship. Like, look, I got to go over here with these young kids because I need somebody to talk to next year because y'all not going to be here. But again, I held on to that. So guess what? When I get to like freshman year, guess who's mean girling me now? The same ones I was low-key kind of cool. You know what I mean? So it was I went through some mean girl stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't like girls.
Yeah.
After that. Then I get into high school and I had a best friend. We like this. Again, you see me, you see her. She ended up doing a whole bunch of foul stuff to me.
Wow.
And it was just one of the things where it was like, I did everything for this person that a good friend would do. So I could not understand why she did the things she did to me.
Right. Yeah.
But I got older, time and wisdom. And I really recognized like, bruh, look at how she grew up.
Right.
Look at what her home environment was.
Right.
Look at what you saw her dealing with.
That's wisdom.
Of course she did what she did to you. That would have been her nature to do what she did. That's who she was. And you overlook some of those bad things in people because they're your friends.
Yep.
So I'm going to be here for you because you're going through this stuff at home, but it never occurs to you as a child that the type of trauma this person is experiencing, they are going to do to you.
Right.
Because they don't know any other way to be as a person. You didn't grow. How could I expect you from me and you don't have my same experiences?
Exactly.
You didn't grow up in my house. You grew up in your house. And I don't think that.
Do you think you, like, in those times where you had to, those relationships went sour or whatever the case may be, do you think like you mourned the loss of those connections?
As a kid, no. I swallowed it and moved on the next day. And I didn't have a choice. Even with when I got older, I was ready to fight her because I was mad. And I handled that. That breakup was messy. If we want to call a friendship breakup messy, anybody who would ask, because I don't know if I would go out of my way to bring it up, but if anybody asked me, oh, hey, where's so-and-so? Why y'all not cool no more? Well, let me tell you.
Right.
Oh, I'm giving all the tea. I'm not, there's no decorum. There's no maturity in this situation. I see her. It's on sight. Like, I'm being honest with y'all and being very transparent.
Yeah.
I was 19. Like, give me some grace.
Right.
But it was on sight.
Yeah.
If I see her, it's a problem. Like, she did this. I was telling whomever she did this. There was some guy I knew that she kind of liked. And I was like, hey, you can't talk to her no more if you're going to be cool with me.
Oh.
It was very much choose a side.
Right.
It's a
and
problem.
The
immaturity was like, so that was my mourning that. It was, I'm just going to hate you.
And that speaks to the point, like, mourning looks different for everybody. Especially when they come to relationships and stuff. Because think about it. Some people are very much so the emotional, the sadness, the depression, right? And then depression comes up in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes that spews out in anger, fueled behind, just all the things that are negative and loud.
Yeah.
mourning relationships is something I feel like a lot of us as adults, we avoid. And if we avoid it, it comes up in different ways and we repeat cycles in other relationships.
Yeah.
And then we start to build up these walls and be guarded, right? And I always think like God's plan for us and sometimes how he allows relationships to go awry, because if we look at the Bible, you got to think about it. Look at the whole David and Saul situation. And David respected this person, and he could not move past all the things. Yeah. So Saul and David, that relationship, it once was nice and pleasant, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
And what a difficult time David had to go through to adjust to this newfound resentment that Saul had for him when he respected him. And he and his son were like best friends.
Yes.
So could you imagine having to navigate that as a young man? And this is an elder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And somebody that you highly respect all of a sudden turns on you and what that looks like. And what I learned from that scenario was this, like, David didn't allow his heart to be hardened towards Saul.
Yeah.
Even when he wanted, him dead at times and he wanted to do certain things to him and all the things, David in himself never allowed himself to be hard-hearted towards Saul. Like, he literally showed him grace. And that's something I'm seeking God about and understanding, even with us navigating relationships. Because sometimes, and hear me out, there are some situations where we are wrongly accused.
Yeah.
Done absolutely wrong. And you could very well be justified on how you respond to that person. Right? Let's be clear. You will be justified by what you would do next to said person. However, in the eyes of God, God's like, I need you to hold it together.
Yeah.
Because although this person has wronged you, that's up to them.
Yes.
But I want to put you in a position where I prepare a table in the presence of your enemies. Right? So we have to do a better job at stewarding, walking away from these relationships gracefully.
Yeah. And I take that into consideration. Like, and there's a friend of mine who listens to the podcast. I'm sorry, I'm not going to bash you with this, but not too long after I got married, her and I had a falling out. And to this day, I haven't really asked her why, none of the details of why she felt like we kind of fell out. Like, sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
And in particular, she had like, oh, I'm sorry, I ain't gonna say your name, but you did what you did. So she texted me on my birthday. It was like, happy birthday. And then it was like, I don't really think we should be cool no more.
Oh,
said, fam, not on my birthday, bruh. Like, what? So it was kind of like a, whatever she was feeling that type of way. But I'm also, because of everything that I experienced, I said, oh, okay, like, what you mean?
Right.
Like, and it was just kind of like, whatever is explained don't need to be explained, whatever it was she said. But I was just like, wow, kind of okay.
Right.
And I deaded that.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And I let it go.
Yeah.
And I did not speak to her anymore after that until, some things happened that brought us back together. And it's all love. Never skipped a beat. We started talking back when we did, and it was cool. And for me, that was a maturity as an adult.
Yeah.
I didn't go online and bash her. I didn't start texting her nothing crazy. I didn't, how you gonna send me this? And it didn't happen that way.
Right.
It was just like, I don't have any control over this person and whatever she's feeling and whatever she's going through. Now, you would think maybe because that could have hurt her.
Yeah.
Like, as long as we've been friends, I didn't respond back and go a day later or 2 days or a week later, like, hey, are you really like not trying to be cool no more? Like, when I think about it as an adult, I just let it be. That's not really probably the greatest way of me to have handled that.
Well, you probably didn't know how. Like, you didn't even know why, and sometimes things like that you don't need to really respond to.
Yeah. And I think it was coming from a place of that hurt me. But because I had been through friendship trauma, my response was, I can't care.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be friends no more, fine. That's it. At who I am now, I would have handled it differently.
Yeah.
I might have let stuff cool down and holler back at her in like a week or a month or something like, look, we've been friends for too long. Yeah. We need to have more of a conversation about like what's going on with you that you would even say this to me.
Right.
You know, and I feel bad about that to this day because I really let years go by. This was somebody who I've been rocking with since I was 13, 14.
Wow.
So I let years go by of us not speaking for real. I think I had reached out to her during COVID or something like that, just to make sure she was straight. But aside from that, this was years. But again, the person I am today, I wouldn't do that. But all of this is a learning. You're not going to have it perfect. I think that's the reason I've kind of told all these stories of I can speak to you from now and tell you I don't agree with how I handled some of those things or I see those things differently now. That's wisdom.
Right.
But it's okay if you don't respond right in those immediate situations as those breakups are happening, as those friendships are happening. It's okay if you don't mourn correctly, but what's not okay is for you not to heal.
Yeah.
What's not okay is for you not to dig deeper or for you to let that become some kind of chip on your shoulder. I hate what those traumatic situations did to me.
Right.
I hate what not grieving those things properly did to me.
Yeah.
I hate that I feel like I missed out on relationships or friendships or building closer bonds with people and it taking a longer time than it probably should have because I was so fearful of being hurt and guarded of being hurt again.
Yeah.
If you do not heal yourself, where that hurt has nowhere to go.
Right.
It's either going to be anger or depression or guarded or I'm building a whole. Nobody's ever going to do that to me ever again.
Yeah. It's crazy that sometimes like, and I don't think a lot of people think that this is a thing to grieve relationships. When we talk about grief, mourning, we think death, but they say it's the hardest thing to do, especially when somebody divorces someone, right? They said it's the hardest form of grief because you have to grieve someone who's still living.
Yeah, we had inside jokes.
Yeah. And that disconnection between, what brought you guys together or that bond and all of that. It's crazy. And also in scripture, you can see it. The Bible has a lot of stories that can resonate with our now and situations. I think about, I had to look it up. I was like, is it in Acts? It's in Acts. It's Paul and Peter. They had a disagreement. They had a falling out basically because Peter, lack of better terms, you guys read it for yourself. Okay. Peter was like showing signs of racism.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want, he was distancing himself away from Gentiles. Like he just, the Gentile believers, he just didn't want to be seen with them being that he was a Jew. But then Paul had to check him like, you're disrespecting the gospel because this is the gospel. There is no Jew nor Gentile. You know the story. So they had this falling out and they kind of separated, I don't believe that it was gross separation, meaning like they hated each other. They just had a disagreement. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately that divided that relationship.
Yeah.
And so the Bible doesn't say much more about like that relationship, if it was mended, if they had a conversation afterwards, all the things, but they did have that dispute, if you will. And sometimes when we have disputes with people that we were once connected to, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything like gross where, you hate each other and it's all the things. Sometimes you just need some time away from that person, but that doesn't mean that taking that time away from that person doesn't grieve you.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
And I think that's the maturity part. And this is why the call to love our neighbors as ourselves comes into play.
Yes.
Or how Christ says, if your enemy is hungry, feed them.
Feed them.
If he's thirsty, give them to drink. And it's a reason why he gives us that structure, because it keeps us pure hearted.
Yeah.
Because listen, like I said before, you might be justified in how you feel about said person.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what they did to you. But the way God has it set up is that to protect our hearts and our posture before him, he wants us to love them no matter what. And this is what's beautiful about growing in God, is that there is not one moment in your walk that you done got it figured out. If you think you have arrived, baby, you about to find out real quick.
Yes, again.
Listen, I don't care if you've been walking with God for 13, 50, 60, 70 years. You hear me?
Yeah.
There is levels in this walk with God that that will gut check you. You'll be like, I thought I had it.
Oh, yeah.
No. I thought I could forgive. I thought, and it's the way God deals with us to keep us in a spirit of humility and away from self-righteousness. Because when we get to those places where we feel like we've got it figured out, and we get to those places like, oh, I know what the scripture says and all these things. It's like, now you're about to be challenged by the same scripture you said you know what it says.
Yeah. That's
and relationships, I feel like for me, and a lot of people, if we look around in society, relationships, I'm not talking about romantic relationships, although that's a portion. I'm talking about platonic relationships. People struggle in relationship.
Yeah. Communication is a problem.
Yeah, because of social media. I always say this. Social media is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. It's an awesome tool. We can reach a lot of people. We can influence people. We can share the gospel. We can do a lot of things on social media.
Yep.
But also there are horrible things being done on social media.
Yeah.
Relationships are falling apart because of social media. The lack of communication, or should I say the lack of proper communication, becomes an issue because of the social environment that we are operating in, social media, text messages and stuff. Like we're having full-fledged conversations through text messages that should have been on a phone.
Yes.
Like, so you can hear that person's heart. You can hear their tone. You can hear, like, we don't even know how to relate with people no more.
And I'm like, I know that people jump on Gen Z all the time, but I will give them their credit that the whole emotional intelligence, there are a lot of more conversations that are being opened up that I think teach you how to communicate better. We just have to actually utilize those teachings and those functions to make it happen. There's so much that could be fixed with a conversation. There's so much bad that doesn't have to happen. There's so many relationships that don't have to end if somebody would just have a conversation. My goodness.
And it's truth in that. And I'm just, as you said it stung a little bit, because I myself have some relationships that I have cut off due to, disrespect and all the things. And some of you will say, well, that you did the right thing. But I'm on the side of caution now, that, to Jess's point about the friend, look how that person grew up. Look at the environment. Look at the state of that person's, situation and why they did what they did. And although it sounds so like, oh, you got to forgive. Oh, okay, we get it. No, if you really consider what somebody's dealing with at the time that the offense comes, it'll show you why grace is necessary. Because they could have had a moment of weakness and you just so conveniently became the target. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be hurt. That person might be hurting from something that they haven't expressed in the proper way. And then you come along and you're trying to challenge that right there, that's that thorn that person has, and you're trying to remove it, and then they lash out at you.
Oh yeah. I had to explain to one of our old employees, like, because she was such a very kind-hearted person, very sweet girl, but she felt like, oh, I get taken advantage of all the time. And I had to explain to her, like, God made you the way that he made you on purpose.
Yeah.
So some people are just genuinely good. You're just kind-hearted. I wouldn't hurt a person ever in the world. But you get beat down by people taking advantage of you so much that you become like hurt and harmed, and you almost want to change. And I get it, but I had to explain to her, like, you might be the only kindness that person has ever experienced.
That's
or they ever will. And you really have to just hold on to, not that it's some kind of great thing for you to marvel at yourself about, but you have been placed in people's lives at times for a reason. So I'm like, don't ever lose your spirit. Don't ever stop being kind.
Yeah.
You don't have any control whether or not somebody's grateful of it.
True.
But it's still a part of who you are and your mission on this earth, or your purpose on this earth. Like, God made you to make a little bit of brightness possible for somebody, even if it was just for a moment. Even if their core nature, they couldn't do anything but be wicked and take advantage of it, but they still got to experience a moment of joy.
Yeah.
And if you, through God, were able to give that to somebody, hey, that's worth it.
Man.
You know what I mean? I never would take back anything that I did for anybody.
No.
Because why would I? Then why did you do it in the first place? I think there's that little quote that people go around, are you kind or are you nice? Because it's like, oh, okay, I'm being nice just because I'm supposed to be.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Kind.
Like, but you're not really kind because you're only doing things because you have an expectation in return. If I do it for you, I'm doing it out of love, not because I have an expectation back from you.
Yeah.
And I even had to learn, because of the things that I went through, to be okay with that. And I'm like, I did what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And I think that a process or a part of me having to learn that was, you do still have to have your own boundaries when you're that kind of person.
Yeah.
You do have to stand up for yourself. If you get to a space where you do feel like you're taken advantage of, now is the time to say something. Otherwise, you do run the risk of becoming resentful.
Yep.
And that, again, being a people pleaser, you run into those problems of, I don't know how to have this difficult conversation.
Right.
So it's like, do I continue to allow it or do I cut ties? Because I don't want to have the talk.
Right.
But you have to have the talk. So like, do you have any tips on having the talk? Because there's friendships I look back on that fizzled out. And I'm like, we really just could have had a talk. But I didn't know how to tell somebody, you're going down a road that I can't rock with.
That's when love comes into play. I think we think love is nice.
Yeah.
Love is kind, right? To your point. And when you love somebody, you are kind enough to have a conversation.
Yeah.
No matter how difficult that conversation may be, if you really love and care for that person, you will understand, this is a difficult conversation, but this is only going to make it better.
Yeah.
You know? And then that also tests the nature of that relationship. If I can't come to you and have this hard conversation about what's going on in our relationship that will ultimately benefit the relationship, and you are offended and you are choosing to walk away, that lets me know that you were just being nice.
Yeah.
You weren't being kind and you didn't really love me. It's just like a marriage, right? Where, marriage is a commitment. It is a commitment. It is a covenant. And so when you get married, I don't know how many married people get married to get divorced.
Yeah.
Or even if you really got married and you believe like this is what God has for you, you don't get into that marriage for a divorce.
You're not planning for it to fail.
So, right. You're not planning for it to fail. So therefore, if you're going to spend the rest of your life with somebody, these are our difficult conversations you have to have. What a horrible and stressful environment it has to be in a marriage where you're not comfortable enough to have a difficult conversation with someone you love and ultimately have decided to spend the rest of your life with. I also think that way with friendships.
Yeah.
Like, if this is my friend and you are offending me, I'm going to have this conversation. Like, I'm going to put my sister's husband on a front street because he's my brother, but I don't care. So anyway, we were having a conversation. You remember this? Like a couple months ago, Crystal was here. We were having a conversation. And listen, my brother, if you know him, God bless him.
Lord help him.
He can be very rude at times. Okay. Just lame, just straightforward. He means well. Okay. Yeah. But he can come off very...
a little blunt.
Yeah. And it hurts a little bit, you know, if you're not prepared.
Yes.
Okay. And so it's crazy. We give it all these disclaimers for him, but it's the truth. Anyway, means well, love him to death. Literally love him.
Very direct.
Yes. And some of the stuff and the opinions he gives are spot on. And I receive everything he says. But this particular day, we were having a conversation downstairs and we were talking about something, and without saying so much, but we were talking about something, and he made a comment towards me that was very, I felt like, bro, what you talking about?
Aggressive.
And he doubled down. He doubled down. And I was trying to give him every out, okay, in the conversation. And he kept doubling down. And I've known him for years. It still hurt my feelings, right? And I left here and I was like kind of upset, but I just like let it go and slept on it. And then I took a moment to myself when I got home, and I was like, I'm going to tell him how I feel.
Yeah.
I was like, he known me too many years to know that was messed up.
Yeah.
So I was like, I love him. I'm going to have a conversation because I'm not going to harbor this towards him and be like, no, I'm mad at you. I don't want to talk to you, you know. So I called him on FaceTime. I didn't text him. I called him on FaceTime.
Yeah.
Because I know him. I said, if I do it through text, he's not going to understand what I'm saying. So let me call him. And I wanted to look at his face when I told him how he made me feel. So I told him, and he kind of like smirked. He was like, sister, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. You know, sometimes I come off, and he explained himself, which I already knew. And he was like, I didn't mean it that way. It was a misunderstanding. And he was like, but I see your point of view and I apologize.
Yeah.
And he didn't like get defensive. And that let me know that he loves me too enough to reconcile the error of whatever it was that I was feeling, whether or not he meant any harm.
Yeah.
It came across bad. And that's what I mean about like genuine relationships. Like when you build that type of rapport with someone, what's a hard conversation? Because like, I really want us to be on the same page because I care about this relationship to the degree that, hey, this is a little bump in the road, but I'm going to let you know how you made me feel. And respectfully, just please, you know, and however that rolls over to the person you're giving that information to, how they respond to that tells you everything about how they feel about you also in that relationship. So I would say, what's a hard conversation?
Yeah.
To anybody that you care about. And so and that even goes with parents, right? Some people are out there watching right now and mourning parent relationships,
especially the one that you never had and you wish you had
that
with them. That's the one that really hurts.
Mourning,
because you build up what you wish they would have been in your life. Especially when you see other good examples of what the type of parent that you would have wanted, and you start mourning the person that never even existed. I say that all the time about, you have to be careful with the prayers that you have or the things that you want. There's some things that, oh, I'm going to win this lottery, right? I'm going to go get this ticket and it's mine. And then you don't win. And now you are so depleted and depressed because now everything you built up in your mind that was going to happen when you got that money doesn't exist. But you never had it in the first place.
Right.
And so we have to be very careful with these worlds that we build. And trust me, I'm a very imaginative person.
That's a good
So
one.
I've been there. But when you build up these people, these relationships of who you wanted them to be, you're not only mourning the absence of who they actually are, you're mourning the absence of who you wanted them to be.
Their potential.
And so their potential. So, and we do that with spouses too, but that is a painful thing to put yourself through because they're letting you down twice over.
And disappointment. After disappointment.
And that's a really, like, please don't get yourself in that type of a space. You have to heal from that for real, for real. Like that's a therapy call. That's a
listen. And that's another thing we were talking about, like when mourning relationships, how much of that process we actually don't unpack. And it's almost like a stigma, especially in the Black community. And even some spheres of the church, where talking to someone, therapist, licensed therapy, is almost shunned upon.
Oh yeah.
And so you carry traumas with you that you just suppress and say, oh, it just made me stronger. But then you're also passing these traumas to your children in the way you respond.
Yes.
And you don't even realize it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to the point of mourning something, like my mom, we're completely on the opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to different things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, and I was talking to my therapist about some things, and that's when my eyes were open to that mourning process, right? And what that looks like for different people. And as she started talking to me, because my mourning process, no matter what it is, I shut away.
Yeah.
I disconnect, right? I shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I internalize. Whereas, and yeah, I'm putting my mom out there, so whoever watching, they know her, whatever.
Mind your business.
Right. Don't go back and tell her I'll talk about her, but whatever. Shout out to my mama. But she's like angry. When she's mourning, she is angered.
Got you.
She's the rah, rah, rah. Mm-hmm. That's her. And I've seen it in different, times throughout life, like when somebody passes away or whatever. Mm-hmm. Instead of her going through the emotional, like, brokenness and the sadness, she has never shown that space.
Yeah.
She gets angry. And I had to learn that people handle grief different ways.
Yes.
And you may think, oh, I handle grief well because I'm not sad. Mm-hmm. But if you are the opposite and you're angry, that is a form. Grief is the primary emotion. Mm-hmm. Anger is the secondary.
Yeah.
So in seasons where you have to mourn the loss of a relationship, it could be you've been in a 2-year, 5-year, 1-year relationship and you thought this was the love of your life. You thought you were going to get married. And then that situation has dwindled. It's okay to say, I had to grieve that. Mm-hmm. We get so caught up in on to the next when you aren't healed.
Yes.
You're repeating cycles of trauma. It's okay to take time. Why are you so in a rush to run to somebody else's arms so they can try to mend and so that you can suppress the hurt?
I can tell you for me, it was, I have to feel like I'm not the problem.
Oh.
So when those romantic situations happen and it didn't work, it's just like, why am I not lovable?
Yeah.
Like, why can't I be loved? Like, why didn't this one work? Again. Mm-hmm. And so it's like the second you, especially when you're dealing with insecurities, like the second you get somebody that you think really likes you and you really like them, you completely overlook the fact that you just broke up with somebody else a month ago.
Right.
And if you don't have the tools to heal from the old stuff, you gonna jump right to the next one because you don't know how. There's some people who don't know how to be alone.
This is true. That's
one of them.
This is true.
Like once you get a taste of relationship, your grieving is you getting into another one.
Mm-hmm. You never heal and you repeat the cycle.
You just gonna keep replacing people with people. I don't know that that's really the best thing for you to be doing right away. No. Like let's give it a beat. And I know that is easier said than done. Mm-hmm. That's why I think that when you have like a moment of clarity,
right,
those are the times when you have to just stop and go, okay, I have to deal with me. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is not outward. It's very much inward.
Right.
So all of the issues I had over time, like with insecurity, that's why I'm pushing you to the Lord Jesus on this podcast. Mm-hmm. God helped me unpack everything. I spent I would go and it took one of the worst days of my life for this to happen. Lord, thank you for saving me, your grace. But I was going to work, I was coming home and I was spending time with God. That was it. For 2-3 months straight. That was it. I think I probably said that on the pod before, and it was me and God, and we had to work all that stuff out in time of reading and prayer. Because I'm like, God, I can't be this person anymore.
Yeah.
So him changing me was also him healing me. So it's like, I need you to see why you had these behaviors. I need you to see what caused these things so we don't go back there anymore. Right. So it's like, oh, light bulb. That's why I was doing that. Mm-hmm. That's why I was letting these things happen and those things happen. God helped me heal my insecurities.
Yeah. And a part of that was confession.
Mm-hmm.
confession precedes healing. The Bible says, confess your faults one to another, pray for one another that ye may be healed. And it's something to be said about confession. Now, here's the thing. I'm not telling you to go confess everything to everybody because everybody is not trustworthy, right? Yeah. But it's something to be said to confess to God what it is that you're dealing with. Not necessarily sins, but he said that you may be healed. That means there are things internally that you are battling.
Yeah.
Right? It could be unforgiveness. And in this case, we're talking about mourning those relationships. Confess that to the Lord. I think we do such a great job at suppressing our hurt to appear as strong. Mm-hmm. It is okay to say that you are grieving because that in itself is a strength.
Yes.
And the only way that God can heal you of that grief and you mourning that process of someone leaving your life is when you confess that to him.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Yes, he is God. He knows these things. But the power of confession is this. This is me pinpointing what I need the Lord to do for me. Mm-hmm. Because I'm hurting. I'm grieving this relationship. I thought this was going to be the love of my life. I thought I was going to be married. I thought, my kid would never do such things. And now I have to, they disconnected from me or whatever the case may be. I'm mourning this. God, heal me from this. And that's when God comes into your heart in that space. And believe me, he is going to create a scenario where you are going to have to get in front of that person, or a scenario works out where he works it, where, reconciliation is bound to happen, where he's going to put you in a space. This, one of the girls at my church, and she's probably going to watch the podcast, but I'm not going to tell her name, but she gave a testimony that she and her father, like her father was never in her life, right? She was raised by a single mom. She, father in and out of her life, but he was never present.
Yeah.
Fast forward, she's grown. She has 2 children. She's a single mom. And she had a moment where reconciliation came with she and her father.
Okay.
Right. And she said she battled with forgiving him. Although they were still kind of like cordial here and there, she battled with forgiving him. She prayed and she asked God, Lord, help me forgive my father. I don't like this feeling of resentment that I have. Lord, help me. Do you not know that she didn't give a time frame, but time has passed. Her father gets sick and he needs a caregiver.
Wow.
And he asked her, would she be the caregiver? So here it is. She is now her father's full-time caregiver. He lives with her, all the things, the nurses and things come to the house. She's looking after him, cleaning his wounds and all the things. And she said in that moment, she's like, when she found herself one night praying for her father because he was in pain, in that moment, it hit her. God gave me a means to forgive.
Yeah.
And her action of forgiveness came through her administering, comfort to her father, being his caregiver.
Yeah.
And she said she didn't realize that she was living out an answered prayer until one day she was sitting praying for his healing.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, look at God. When you ask him to help you with certain things that you internalize, that you battle with, God will create a scenario where that is feasible. That when that will happen for you, he will create that scenario. It's not the normal way.
Yeah.
Right? Where there's a conversation and I forgive you.
Yeah.
She wanted true forgiveness, and that would only be done through action.
Yes.
Her actions of forgiveness was this: I'm caring for you. I'm worried about your well-being. I'm tending to your wounds. I'm doing all these things to the point she's not forced to forgive him. She gradually grew to forgive her father. No matter that he was not even in her life.
Yeah.
For the most part, she is now in a position where she can care for someone that didn't care for her. And I was just like, when she shared that, I was blown away at the awe of God in that moment of her sincerity, really wanting to be free from unforgiveness. And how many of us are battling with unforgiveness? Yeah, that relationship went sour because he might have cheated on you, or this might have happened, or that might have happened. Your sister stole from you, whatever the case may be. And I understand boundaries. I'm not saying don't have no boundaries. I'm not saying that. You better keep your boundaries.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is boundaries has nothing to do with forgiveness. You can set boundaries and love that person.
Yeah.
Sincerely love that person. You can set boundaries and if that person came to you for help, would you help them? That's the test right there. Is when you set your boundary, although the boundary's there, but if that person sincerely needs your help, would you shut the door in their face?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And honestly, it's an eye-opening situation. Like this podcast, especially this one, this is a challenging one, I think, for a lot of us, because mourning a loss of a relationship of someone that is still living and it's just not in your life anymore is also just as important as mourning properly the death of someone.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have to mourn.
You have to. And I don't hold any animosity towards anybody. Everybody that I've talked about tonight, I have they are forgiven.
You are the most forgiving person.
I promise you there.
I will say that much about Jessica.
I let so much go, but it's also to my detriment. There are so many things that we think are strong and that we've gained strength in, but they're also weaknesses.
Yeah.
Because when you get hurt again, you aren't responding from strength, you're responding from your weakness.
Yeah.
Because you haven't really dealt with healing that issue. So you just respond with what you think is strength.
Right.
But it's usually probably not the best response because it's coming from a place of hurt. And so for me, because I let so many things go, I'm so go with the flow that if I don't speak to a person, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll hear from you when I hear from you. And guess what? I'm going to have a kind response and I'm going to be nice when I hear from you. Take that. But that's not really me being the most mature that I could be.
Right.
Because there's a couple conversations I do need to have. I just haven't had them because what I feel like is, what's the point? I don't, low key, I don't care, but I do care. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be thinking maybe this needs to be a conversation. But I convince myself that it doesn't matter what they have to say. I don't want to have the conversation because it's going to be a hard conversation.
Yes, it is.
And so for me, the kindness in me is thinking I don't want to have the conversation because I don't want to make the person feel bad. Why am I caring about your feelings?
Right.
But that's a mourning process. For me, there's a call I need to make. I've just been avoiding it.
Right.
And my pride has been no, I'm not calling you because I'm always the one calling
you. Yeah.
Why I got to be the bigger person. And this coming from somebody who said, yeah, sometimes you have to be the bigger person because you are the bigger person.
Period.
And when it comes to parents and things like that, yes, you'll always be the child.
Right.
No, it is not fair that you have to be the grown-up.
Nope.
With a whole adult. But some people are just damaged.
Yeah.
Some people don't.
And they got it honest.
And they,
sometimes and that's another, to your point, we've been talking about this, is that look at how they were raised. Look at their environment.
Yeah.
They can't help but be that. Right. And to be the bigger person is because you self-realized, hey, this isn't me, but I want to free myself and I want to free you from whatever this may be.
Yes.
But you're not mature enough to recognize it, but God has given it to me. So then, yes, I'm in this situation. I am the bigger person and I need to initiate the conversation.
Yeah.
There are some people that are not able to, period, point blank, because of a history of trauma, and they don't have the tools to know how to break free and do that, you know? So sometimes with somebody watching this, you might be in that position where you have healed and you have conquered some things, right? But you're looking back at some places that you could have done things differently, and you thinking it to you. And if you're sitting there thinking about it, it's you.
Yeah.
It's you. You're the bigger person. You need to initiate that conversation. Although it might be difficult if you might not know exactly what to say verbally, I would say even let it be a text message, an email, something, just to get it off your chest, because I believe when like the Bible says, if you have aught, go to them, talk to them. And if they don't receive you, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Like if they don't receive you. And I know that was more so for the saints, but even then, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we don't do a good job even amongst the saints of like having those conversations and addressing things head on, especially out of love.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the most difficult part of having a conversation is getting over the mindset that this is going to be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the most difficult part. Because once you have the conversation, you be like, oh, okay.
It's it.
But it's just the initial thought, I got to have this conversation, is the most difficult part.
And
just I have the conversation.
I kind of take solace in that. What did it say in the Bible? Like, if they don't receive you, dust off your feet.
Dust your feet off.
Dust your feet off and go about your business. That's where I'm at with that little conversation I need to have. Like, it's not even this is a all or nothing type of deal, but I know that once this conversation happens, I can, hey, God, I did what I was supposed to do, and now I can dust my feet off and be good. And so if you are in that space of like, I don't really know how to do this, I think there's a whole book, and I'm sorry, y'all, I haven't read it, so maybe I shouldn't be, but I think it's like a book called like having difficult conversations, or having to, like, if you need a pep talk, if you need to talk to your therapist, if you need the Lord, if you need whatever you need to get it off your chest. And I don't mean like, don't go to Thanksgiving and just be stirring stuff up.
Right.
Like, don't be doing all of that.
Not 2025.
Don't get your courage at the dinner table. Like,
leave that alone.
But if that's how you have to mourn, if that's how you have to like grieve through this, is confronting it to let it go, then you might have to do that.
Yeah.
There's some people that I had to forgive that I never verbally told I forgive you. Yeah. But I had to do it because like we not cool no more. Right, so I look like hollering at you 2-3 years from now, like, I forgive you. Right. I'm not doing that. But I did do it, even though I didn't say it directly to them, but I saw that person later and it was no smoke. I didn't have no issue when I saw them. I wasn't angry about it. I was like, I'm cool. They don't speak to me. I don't speak to them, and we straight. Right. But in those situations where there's still like, either you still have to see this person or you just uncertain and you are mourning, like you're going to carry that around until you get that stuff off of you. Right. So however you feel like you got to get it off of you, I'm telling you, go and have that conversation.
Go and have it.
But if you know that there's a different process for you to let stuff go, then it might be a different process. But quit stalking them people social media pages.
Right.
Leave them alone. All right. Right. Because that might be a part of your grieving process, that you hit the unfollow or the block button.
Block button, and I'm one of those.
Okay. But stop stalking them folks.
Anyway.
You got to move on with your life. And I know it's easier said than done. We're talking about years that you might have had with somebody in a friendship or a relationship. We're talking about movies y'all saw together, intimate secrets that you shared. The love and joy that you had with another person. Celebrations.
Milestones. Like
somebody you still want to call on their birthday. Yeah. And you can't now because it's weird.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, like there's a person walking, living, breathing in the world that you don't have access to anymore.
That's the truth.
And you have to heal from that.
It's funny because I feel like I talk about Joseph a lot. I feel like I'm like in the Joseph season of some sort, because I just, every time we have a conversation, it's a relatable circumstance. Anyway, Joseph, think about how his brothers did him. Sold him into slavery. Then he got lied on in Potiphar's house. Yeah. Then thrown into prison. Could you imagine the grief? Not only Joseph had to grieve him not seeing his father anymore, or his mom.
Yeah.
Or
his brother.
Never mind the brothers. I'm mad at my brothers.
Yeah.
Because they did this to me. Could you imagine the mental anguish and the process that he had to go through for forgiveness? Because watch this. Once it was his time, he's over Egypt. His brothers come.
Yeah. And he hadn't checked on them before that.
No, he didn't have a he wouldn't even think, because in his mind he had disconnected himself from the place, right? But then there was a moment, a reconciliation, where he sees his brothers, and his brothers are angry. Well, not angry. They're ashamed. They're ashamed that they did this to him. But they're like in awe all at the same time and scared.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
surely this man is about to kill us.
We about to die.
We're about to die.
Instead, Joseph told him, no. Go get my daddy. Like, bring my daddy. And he said, what y'all meant for evil.
Yeah.
God used it for good, for the saving of many lives. Joseph understood in that moment that what happened to him had little to do with him and had everything to do with God's plan.
Yeah.
And sometimes we as believers, our steps are ordered by God. And that means even the hard seasons, those relationships and all the things.
Yeah.
We have a hard time believing that God ordained that for our lives. But when we look at the big picture, I always say this, hindsight is always 20/20. When you get there, take a moment of reflection and look back.
Yeah.
Had it not been for this, you wouldn't have done this. Had it not been for those breakups, you wouldn't have met your husband. Okay? You know what I'm saying? If it had not been for this, you wouldn't have even started the business. Had you not left that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we give the devil too much credit for how things transpire in our lives that are negative, especially in the relational space.
Oh, yeah.
All I can say is grieve that relationship loss properly.
Please.
Grieve it with grace, because although it was foul, although you feel mistreated, although you feel disrespected and dishonored and all the things, grieve it properly.
Yes.
And let it go.
Let it go.
Don't let the enemy cause you to fester and incubate all these negative emotions to the point you perpetuate this behavior down the line of unforgiveness.
Yeah. And last thing, don't take it personally. Please don't. Unless you really did something to them and then they did something back to you and this was a tit for tat. But other than that, don't take that stuff personally. You will wind up like hating you.
Yeah.
Because of what somebody did to you. You'll think that you deserved what somebody did to you in that mourning process or in that grieving process. Like, don't take that stuff personally. People are messed up on their own without any help from you.
None.
A lot of that stuff happened before you ever got there. If it wasn't you, it was going to be somebody else.
It was going to be somebody else.
So don't take those things personally, especially not so much that you allow yourself to be just shaped and shifted and molded into just brokenness.
Yeah. And consider the circumstance and the person, right? They're not their best, right? I take inventory of what was going on in their life when the situation went the way it went. I no longer turn myself into the victim. I sit and I think about what was going on in their space. Because remember, this is a relationship that you once cared for. So if I once cared for that person, I'm always going to care for that person because I lead with love.
Yes.
So even though they hurt me, I'm mourning that, but I'm still considerate of what they were dealing with.
Yeah.
And yeah, they weren't in the right space. And yeah, they made the mistake. And yeah, I'm pretty sure God's going to have them come back around and acknowledge the wrong.
Okay, I done got a couple of apologies. Okay.
Right. But whether or not that happens, I have to take care of me. And if that means, I'm going to say this, and if that means, listen, we pray and we fast and we seek God for, deliverance and things, right? But you also have to walk certain things out. You understand? And what that looks like is this. Sometimes deliverance is as you go. Sometimes it's instantaneous, right? Jesus healed people and as they went, right? The lepers, they weren't healed instantly. It was as they went. And so even for the unforgiveness and the grief that in the mourning that you're going through in that process of that relationship or whatever that circumstance is, whether it's romantic or platonic, whatever, you have to make sure that you are confessing how you feel to someone. Yeah. And that's why I'm an advocate for therapy. Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody to get that off of you
Yes.
Because what I'm learning now is how the enemy is very crafty. He's very sneaky. He's very subtle when he comes into our lives through doors. And one of the doors he creeps into is unforgiveness. And when another door he creeps into is resentment.
Mm-hmm.
All these are doors for him to creep into to cause anger, even to cause you to start doing things you typically wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Because you're hurt.
Yeah. That stuff lingers.
Mm-hmm. So talk to somebody. Whether that be your spiritual leaders, get with them, talk with people, let them know that you're mourning. I always say it's good to have a good circle of friends. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say this too. If your friend's not saved, I'm just going to do this disclaimer. I'm going to just do this. If they're not saved, babe, like they're not going to give you sound wisdom for where you should be, especially in your spiritual walk. And don't hear me. I'm not saying throw them away. I'm saying, use wisdom. Use wisdom.
Yes.
Okay? Because, just because they're not saved right now don't mean down the line they're going to accept Jesus. But use wisdom. Yeah. Okay?
At least take a look at where they are in life.
That part.
To see if the advice that they're giving you tracks.
That's
let's see if it lines up. Especially if you are a believer.
Yeah.
Does it even seem like it's in
Does it sound right?
Does it sound like it might be in alignment with the word? Like, is it anywhere in? If it's not, then we got to read that.
If they telling you, babe, girl, get on to the next one. Stop.
Nope. Pause.
Stop. Just say no.
Pause. Yeah.
Get on that dating app. No.
No,
you don't need no dating app.
No.
Go on that date. No, you don't even need to go on that date for real.
Don't do it.
You too hurt, babe.
Don't do it.
Don't you do that.
You're going to mess around and do some things you ain't
Let's
supposed to
go turn up. No, you don't need to go turn up.
You might pick up an addiction. Don't do it.
Don't do that.
Don't do it.
I know you're hurt. You want an escape. Take it to Jesus, not the club. Okay.
He is a comforter to the brokenhearted. Okay. Let him comfort you.
Just saying.
The Lord, not some man in a bed. Don't do it.
Hey.
Don't do it.
Hello?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. And we're joking, but we're in all seriousness. We are literally here to kind of help you out.
Very serious, because I lived it. Don't do it.
We all did at a time, right? It's the reality of this life that we live, and we want to give you the tools necessary to succeed. And this is why we bring these conversations to you all, because these are circumstances in life that we've actually lived out.
Yes, I made the mistake, so you don't have to.
Exactly. Why do that? You ain't got to do crack to know what it is about. No, we don't want you to do that. And we want you to heal properly. We want you to be your best self, and we want God to get the glory out of your life circumstances. And if you are mourning the loss of a relationship, I'm here to tell you that it will get better.
Yes.
It will get better. And you will see after a while why God had to rearrange scenarios and relationships in your life.
Yes.
To position you for something else. And watch this. That doesn't mean the relationship that you had to walk away from or mourn in this season may not come back around. Sometimes there are things that you got to get out the way for so God can intervene, or that you don't have to go down a hole that will cause more harm to you than good. And that might come back around. You never know. To the point of Joseph, his brothers came back around. It wasn't a dissolved relationship where it's like, I hate them. They did this to me. I was in prison for so many years because of them. But then he couldn't even mourn that no more, because if it hadn't been for me being in prison, I wouldn't have become over Egypt. We got to start thinking that way. Okay. And so if God does bring that thing full circle, thank God that he did. And I guarantee that there is some type of healing that has taken place.
Yeah.
Go with that. Be happy, be merry, forgive. But you know what, y'all? We love you.
Love you to life.
We are at the end of the episode, and we really hope that, something was said.
Yeah.
Although we were laughing, joking, we really pray that this brings deliverance to you and healing to your heart, and hope also that you understand that mourning the loss of a relationship of someone that is not deceased, but yet living, is completely normal.
Yes.
And that it will get better. You will get through it. And it's only a matter of time where that smile is going to come back on your face, and you're going to sit and thank God that he did what he did.
Okay. Thank you, Jesus.
Right.
Hallelujah.
All right. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sufficient Grace with your hosts, Alex and Jess, having authentic conversations about our walk with Jesus Christ. This podcast has an emphasis on God and an emphasis on God's grace, because it tells us in our word in 2 Corinthians 12:9, and he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.